All right, welcome to another episode of the Founders Table. Pull up a chair and take a seat at the Founders Table with real founders, real entrepreneurs who have real conversations about the issues you face as a founder-led entrepreneurial organization. I'm here with a dear friend of mine and someone I'm extremely excited to have on the show today. He's been an entrepreneur for we'll find out, but many, many decades. And he has been able to successfully scale himself out of a job and build a multiple 8-figure organization. He now helps me alongside our wonderful team to help companies scale and get to a place where their company has real value. So please welcome my friend, my brother, Mr. Troy Hoffman.
Thanks, Nick. He fired me on the way here because I was 16 minutes late in traffic, by the way.
Yeah, I said
he said the traffic's going the opposite direction. I don't believe him.
When you're like, we're in a heavy traffic area, I was like, if we were going the other way, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Troy and I basically live, well, he lives all over the world, but when he's here in California, he lives in Huntington Beach.
Yes.
I live in Newport Beach, which is right next door. And it only took me 22 minutes to get here.
It took me 56.
He's got this beautiful big watch, but apparently it's broken. What is not broken about this man, what's not broken about this man is his mind and his ability to see systems. I mean, the way your mind works. So maybe before we dive into that, give the audience a little background on you, age, how long you've been, an entrepreneur, kind of where you're currently at in that whole, gestation.
So, 48 years old.
Goddamn, you look great.
Thanks.
I was gonna say, not a day over 47.
Yes. And then I started building companies like literally by just like kind of chance. A buddy of mine wanted to start a detailing business when we were about 14 or 15 years old. We started Suds Brothers, and we started handing out flyers to all these people, right? And all these houses. Within a few weeks, he quit. And I just kept going. And then I was like, hey, asked another friend, hey, can you help me do this car? And I'll pay you money. I asked another friend, can you help me do this car? And I'll do money. And so next thing you know, we had like one old school like phone with an old school answering machine and one number, and people would leave their name, and a bunch of like junior high kids on bicycles with portable vacuums and turtle wax and all the goodies in like a little bucket that you attach to the bike. And we'd go around and start detailing cars, and did the same thing with painting the numbers on the sidewalks.
Oh yeah, I mean, like the people that knock on your door and like, hey, we want to.
We'll paint your number. So we did those like when I was a kid, and then.
What would you charge for that, by the way?
It was $15 back then. Yeah,
that's actually pretty good.
It was great. It was great in junior high. My dad thought I was selling drugs. Maybe get a real job because he thought I was like selling drugs or cocaine or something or marijuana or something.
Well, that would have been a lot more lucrative.
Trouble. Yeah. I bought a whole boat by myself at like 14 and everything. Like that was a 1965 Starcraft with the 1965 Evinrude engine.
Jesus.
Yes, it was awesome.
So that was your first taste of like, hey, I can actually make money on my own, and I can actually have other people do the work, right? So you've been actually outsourcing work.
I love outsourcing work.
I do too. I want to work as little as possible and make as much money as possible.
And then that's like, even I did my feng shui chart, right? One of the things it even says on there
you
is
did a feng shui chart at 14.
No, I didn't do it now, but I did it recently. This is recently. And like on the little chart said I need to basically delegate even more.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is great. I love this. I love this chart. Wow. And I don't know. I just try it all. I try DISC. I try all the personality tests.
What's that? By the way, have you taken the wealth dynamics?
I've done it, but I can't remember it right now.
Okay. The only reason I ask is I just recently took it. What Troy's talking about.
I need to go through it again.
Yeah, what Troy's talking about, there's all these assessments. There's predictive index, there's DISC, there's Colby.
Yes, I love Colby.
I've never heard of this feng shui one, but there's wealth dynamics. And so it basically helps you understand who you are, like at your core, so that you can actually step fully into that and do the best work that is going to be in alignment with like who you are, in your DNA,
And I think you should take a bunch of them, do 4 or 5 of them at least. Do color code. I mean, just hit them all. Anything you can find online, just go and do what you can and just go take these things.
Right.
Circle them, highlight them, take notes about it, read them. I even did this like 3 days ago by myself in the morning. I was just journaling and like going through this new report I just got because I'm constantly trying to say, okay, where do I put my time, my money, and energy over and over and over again? Because it's a constant awaken and remember with everything we do in our lives, right? So I think that's one of the key factors of trying to do these personality tests. And so I started personality tests when I was actually 17 or 18. I got an Amway. And so that was the first thing. I started reading books, tapes, and functions and going to seminars, actually learning about business, learning about, goal setting, dream building, going to Tony Robbins seminars. And the first company we launched was a Christian t-shirt company. And we ended up scaling that first, right? We started doing like surf and skatewear style shirts for like the Christian marketplace, Encounter Productions.
Okay.
And the clothing line was actually called Grave Clothes at the time. Like Jesus came out of the grave wearing his grave clothes, right? And so that was kind of the concept.
Drippy. Jesus was drippy, man. Jesus has swag.
He had swag. Yeah. And so we did really well with it. And we were doing all these youth conferences. And then we took over Amway seminars, making shirts, hats, stickers. And then we got the sticker business.
So how old are you at this point?
18 when we started that.
Okay, so just for chronological order here. So you had the Suds brothers in junior high school and as a teenager. And then you transitioned to this T-shirt business. And then you started actually doing the T-shirt stuff for other people.
Yes.
So you had your own brand and you're also like
Correct.
manufacturing and helping them.
And doing huge conferences. Wow. And then we'd sell our products there too.
Was that a pretty profitable business?
Yeah, it was pretty good, but I don't think we understood bookkeeping. There was no mentors back then. There was no coaches. I had no idea what taxes were.
And where were you getting information? Just through just kind of the...
Back then, they didn't even have the internet.
I know.
This was like 1993,
That's why I'm asking.
94.
That's why I get so upset. I don't know if you ever seen the series I run on Instagram called Smartphones, Dumb People.
Yes.
Because and it's not that they're dumb. I just say that they're ignorant because man, if I had this smartphone, you and I'm 44, you're 48.
Crazy.
Yeah, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 22.
I learn every day. I'm on YouTube learning, taking notes from somebody all day, every day.
All you could do back at the cell phone when we first got it was play Snake.
That.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, and I had a beeper. That's how old I am.
Yeah,
like the beeper, like you had to text messages.
Yeah, you could 143, I love you, and all the
I love that. I love that. And so the lessons were learned there because one is I didn't have any mentors and the people I had were kind of really nonchalant. There was one guy that was a real entrepreneur, but he was impossible to really connect with in any real way.
So you're out there doing your thing, but no bookkeeping, no mentorship, no financial literacy, no even...
I learned QuickBooks myself, so I didn't even know if I set up the damn thing correct. I didn't even know we had to do tax returns.
Oh, wow.
There was nothing out there.
Wow.
No one's telling you anything. And I had something called Senior Corps of Retired Executives, SCORE, coach me. And these are retired NASA executives.
Senior Corps of Retired Executives.
Yeah, SCORE. Wow. They're all over the nation. I think the Better Business Bureau. I think so. Maybe there's better people now.
So you reached out to them?
I reached out to them. I was like, hey, I got all these problems. People want money. They want payroll. I'm like, what the fuck's payroll? You know what I mean? And somebody goes, do we have benefits here? I'm like, what are benefits?
Yeah, the benefit.
Literally, people ask. I'm like,
employed.
I don't know. We'll pay you in surfboards. We had one contract that we got free surfboards from this one company to do a bunch of marketing for them, right? So it was kind of random stuff like that. And then we got into web design. We built this huge shopping cart technology. At the time, we created something called Value Web with my buddy Travis Kuntz. And that actually did pretty well. We took on a large job where we didn't have good contracts. We had no legal. We had no one teaching us anything. So I think these guys saw us let's see how these smart kids can go. And we built this huge platform for this huge cruise industry so they could do online ordering. The whole thing crashed. They didn't want to pay their bill. We had a great website we built for them. Long story, put out a lot of money and it bankrupted literally me. And I easily could have changed it. This is where I wish I would have had us back then.
Right.
That's why I'm so passionate about what I do. I'll work for anyone for free and entrepreneurs. I'll help them day and night.
And by the way, I'm not suggesting that you do that anymore because this guy does it way too much. This is what happens. When you get to our age, so you've been an entrepreneur, you're 48. So, let's just call it, 30 years? 30 years. I'm going on 25 in September. When you get to our age and you've been doing it this long, you realize you collect some debts from other people that you can't repay, people that helped you, people that were instrumental in your life, and you can't repay that debt, but you make a vow to constantly pay it forward. That's why we do this podcast. That's why we have a podcast like this, is so that you as the founder who are sitting there starting out or you're deep into it, you understand that you're not alone and you can get help. And Troy is probably one of the most generous men I've ever seen with his time and his money, and we're trying to curtail that a little bit. But today, you get all this shit for free. So
I wish I would have had us then, because I could easily turn both those companies around with the right mentoring, the right coaching, the right guidance, right? So I think that pain is what drives me today to want to do what I do now.
Got it.
And I want to do this for the next 4 decades of my life, help entrepreneurs scale and grow their companies and build their dreams all over the world, right? To help them manifest dreams globally. Something like that would be amazing as we're building this thing out right now. And so then I went bankrupt. I had to move back to my parents.
How old were you when you went bankrupt?
Like 24.
24. And you actually like went fully bankrupt, like
fully bankrupt. I filed Chapter 7.
Wow.
Because that's where the coaching I got. Just go.
At 24.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this filed Chapter 7 is what they told me. And I was like, okay. It wasn't even that much money. I don't even a couple, maybe 140, 150,000 in debt, like nothing. You could have worked your way easily out. If someone would have just said, oh, just do this, this, and this. We had so much going.
Now I want you to listen to that. Bankruptcy is not an option. Like I literally bankruptcy is giving up. It's pushing everything to the center, saying, I can't figure it out. Here's what I know about people, that if you go to them and you're honest and you're candid about where you're at and you have a plan to pay them back, like they would rather get paid than have you just pull the ripcord and be out, right? Whether it's a vendor or a strategic partner or an investor.
Or even the credit card companies.
Like you can handle this. Like through honest communication and clarity, almost all things can be done. So you were talked into because you got ill advice and you filed bankruptcy. Correct. What did that do to you?
I was really depressed. I mean, I literally drove around smoking cigarettes all night, listening to motivational tapes and drinking Mountain Dew, trying to figure out what to do next.
That is the recipe for motivation. Cigarettes, Mountain Dew, and Tony Robbins. They call that the Bermuda Triangle of creation.
I think it was amazing. So that's where I was at. And I went back to college. I was like, crap, maybe I better go to college. So I finished an AA degree in a year, went to Florida State, started a day spa up there and waited tables and bartended through all this too at night and made a bunch of money, sold that company.
So you sold that company?
That was sold that company. That was great.
So we call that an exit. For those of you that don't know about, selling a business in the industry, it's just called having an exit, right? So you had that exit. Was that a meaningful one?
It was, for me, yes, it was good. It was a good buyout.
A couple $100,000 or something?
Yeah, it was like about $240,000.
Jesus Christ, that's amazing.
Yeah.
At 25?
26.
26 years old. So this is like in 2000 or something like that, right?
2002.
Wow. $240,000 is a lot of money right now, let alone,
And then I moved to California.
Thank God.
Started this company with this guy out here, help him build this thing in this one industry. We went from 0 to about 5 million in about 3 years and 10 months.
Wow.
And then we stepped away from each other and I started another company called Simpleris today and went through the challenges. And I want to point out too what Nick said. I was about $1.8 million in the red. And within 30 days, I was going to have no money to almost pay any bill. Literally, I was like, okay, I was about ready to be like, okay, do I just tap out? I'm peace, I'm out of here. Not that it was an option, but I wanted to almost, right? The stress was so high. The burnout was so high. Again, trying to find good coaches and good mentors was difficult. I found this one guy, Scott Duffy, right? And he's Scott
Duffy's a great man.
He's amazing. And Scott sold his company to Richard Branson. So Scott's had all this experience and helped build up ESPN.com, all these amazing different companies during the tech era. So Scott and I went into an office. I was like, Scott, how much? He's like, $5,000 for the day. I was like, Scott, I've got $1,276 left to my name. Will you take that? And he's like, okay. If that's all I literally emptied my bank account, give it every last cent to Scott and say, Scott, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. So we literally spent that entire day mapping out a plan of literally, how do I get out of debt, right? How do I grow the company and how do I deal with all this? And we made all these lists of all these things to do, how to call every vendor. I spent the next 18 months on the same vendor call almost once a week saying, I'll pay you back your $18,000. For 10 minutes. Hey, don't worry, I'm going to pay you back. I'm going to pay you back.
Yeah, that's what people want. That's what people want. So I don't want to miss this opportunity because we were just talking about this yesterday. So the reason why people work with me and guys like Troy and the ecosystem that we're building is one word, and what he just described, and I want to crystallize that, is access. Access is what people pay for. What you paid for was access. You went to somebody that had the knowledge that you needed in that critical time. Your business is going under. You paid for that access, and what you were accessing was all of their experience, all of their playbooks, and being able to pinpoint the exact solution in that moment to get yourself out of a jam. And that's what most entrepreneurs like are missing, is that like, they're like, oh, I got to pay you. Of course you got to pay. You're paying me for my 25 years. You're paying me for my Rolodex. You're paying me for access to the capital markets. You're paying me for, the knowledge that I've acquired over 25 years, and the 600 million in revenue that I've done, and the businesses I've torpedoed, and the thousands of employees I've employed. That is what you are paying for. And like, and it didn't come cheap for me, and I'm not just going to give it away, because I want to know that you're willing to invest in yourself long before like anybody else is willing to invest into your business.
Yeah, you showed Scott, here's my zero bank account now.
Right.
Like, here's my personal bank account, like $10.
He knew you
like
were
$5 or something left in my personal, and then here's my business bank. Yeah.
And
literally, he knew I was all in.
Let me just ask you a question. If you didn't pay that money to Scott in that moment, what would have happened to you?
I'd probably be dead, Nick, honestly.
Yeah, see, and that's what I'm saying.
Like, I was like that depressed.
What has been
crazy.
What has been the lifetime ROI for making that investment into the right mentorship and getting that access? What's been the ROI?
I texted Scott, I think it was like almost 3 years later to the day. I was like, I now have 1.8 million plus in my bank account.
So you were 1.8 million negative in your bank account. You paid for the right person, paid for the right access, and then you went positive 1.8. That's a 3.6
with zero debt.
$3.6 million swing on a $1,200 investment.
And the company was still scaling and growing at the same time.
That's incredible.
Because we were so far behind in debt because we were growing so fast.
Wow.
It was so crazy. We were on the Inc. 500 list multiple times in that company. We could have probably kept applying and been on it. We were on the FSU top 100 list. And then we just stopped applying because we just had our own problems internally trying to like scale this thing. Because I mean, if you don't know how to run a large company, you've got to learn how to manage. You got to learn how to grow. You got to learn how to lead. I mean, it's like all these things that are on you as a point person, right? And so that was my growth. That was my like breaking of me in every possible way, right? So that's where the Duffys came into the world, and then learning how to become the leader, then how to lead the leaders, then how to leave the leaders behind so they can lead on their own now. And then
that was powerful. Hold on. How to become the leader, then how to lead the leaders, and then how to leave the leaders.
Correct.
Woo! I never heard it put that way. That is beautiful. I'm going to steal that, by the way. I can do a whole riff on that. How to become the leader, how to lead the leaders, and then how to leave the leaders. Like, and that's a quintessential part. So everybody, is going to have some amount of exit in their business, right? Like whether they run it into the ground, right? 94% of startups like fail, so that's an exit. What you're describing is another kind of exit, which is, you work yourself out of a job. And so you can actually leave the leaders, let them lead, and then go live your life and or lead another group of people. There's the leaving it to the next generation, which is very, very difficult, and I'm not sure I 100% recommend it. And then there's actually scaling and selling your business, which the key component of that is what you described, which is transferability and being able to leave the leaders, because the leaders need to stay in place if someone's going to come buy your business. And then the last exit, which we all have and you and I can't avoid, is we're going to die. So I always say, no matter what you're building, build it to exit, because you want to exit some sort of bullshit.
And build it solid.
Yeah,
build something solid that even if you don't show up for 3 months, it still functions.
Like when's the last time like you actually like was in your office like working like full time?
August 1st, 2020.
I love how you know the number, know the date.
I can tell you the exact date, and I can tell you
August
the exact
1st,
meeting.
2020.
That I was
and
like,
you said peace out.
Like literally, and it was so anticlimactic, that meeting, that I wept, and no one else really understood the implications of like, okay, I'm handing it over to this guy to run. Yeah. But I knew it. But the funny thing is so anticlimactic.
So almost 4 years.
Yeah.
That company is Simplerus. How many employees?
I don't know what they're running right now. About
That's so funny.
I don't even know.
He's the vast majority shareholder, and he doesn't know how many. I want you to think about that. He doesn't know how many employees there are because he is not the CEO.
No, I'm not the CEO.
He's the owner, but he's not the CEO.
And I'm the shareholder that elect the board, and the board hires the CEO. This is where most entrepreneurs have zero clue what true board law is. And then understanding board law versus Delaware, board laws versus Nevada, and board laws for Wyoming. What are the actual copies of it? What are the regulations? What are the rules? What are the cases saying about